Most of the people who died from COVID died in the hospital. And what that has to do with are incentives. Anybody who has a sales job knows that they are going to sell to the incentives that are on the table, right? Well, the hospitals were no different when we were locked down. What happened when we were locked down is that if a patient came in the hospital was protected from all liability under the PrEP Act. So the hospital could literally do anything they wanted to a patient, anything, with impunity, seeming impunity. Just wait. They got CARES Act funding in advance. And in fact, a hospital that I'll be talking about tonight, Northwell in New York City, they got more than $1 billion, one hospital system, more than $1 billion in CARES Act funds with the promise that they would enact all the COVID protocols on their patients. Do you think that led to good stuff? Then there were insurance reimbursements on top of that. In the case I'm about to talk to you about, Northwell billed insurance $650,000. And finally, there's also the incentive of organ donation, which is a very lucrative practice. So what happens when somebody goes to the hospital? Here's a girl, this is Danielle Alvarez, that's who I'm gonna be talking about tonight. And any of us would see her as a beautiful young woman. She's 27, she had special needs. The only other time she'd been inside of a hospital was when she was born. And she was so oxygen deprived by that hospital that she got a form of cerebral palsy and ended up with brain damage. So she was a special needs girl. But when she went into Northwell Hospital with a cough, normal oxygen levels, just a cough, she was treated like an ATM. This is how the doctor saw her. They can meet the promise of the CARES funds. They can get insurance money for her. And she wasn't the only one who was treated like this, but I'm going to be talking to you about what happened to Danielle. This is what happened to Danielle. She got admitted to the hospital. While she was still in the ER, they put her on Remdesivir, which causes kidney shutdown in 30% of patients. It was deemed too dangerous to use for Ebola, yet it was being used for COVID. She was put on Propofol, which is what killed Michael Jackson. It's an anesthetic, Propofol, for a 27-year-old girl with a cough. Then she was given fentanyl. In the end, she had 5 times more fentanyl in her system than George Floyd. Yep. And then her mother, after 5 days of constant vigil, her caretaker, her legal guardian, because she was incapable of making decisions like this for herself, was forced to leave the hospital because she was getting sick and needed a shower, but they told her she could come right back. And she was legally allowed to come right back as her caretaker. But guess what? They didn't let the mother back in for 10 days. And in that time, they further sedated Danielle. She started taking her IVs out. She started taking off her mask. She was taking off the ventilator that they put her on after her mother left. She didn't want to be there. She just wanted to be home with her mom. By the time her mother, Rebecca, got back into the hospital, this was Danielle. A couple days later, this was Danielle. And 41 days later, this was Danielle, because they shut down her heart and her kidneys with all the drugs that they were giving her, and they thought they could do that with impunity. And the really sad thing is she left in a body bag 41 days after she was admitted. And I'm telling you this story because this can still happen to anyone today. This can still happen to anyone because the CARES Act still has the COVID protocols in it until the end of 2029. So if you go to the hospital, you get diagnosed with COVID, they can still do this to you. You have to be very, very careful. Always have somebody with you. So we've taken this on as a lawsuit, and we are going to reform hospital safety through this lawsuit because they cannot do this to us with impunity. They engaged in willful misconduct, which is the only way to pierce the PrEP Act, and our lawsuit is designed around willful misconduct. So I thought you'd all want to know about this lawsuit and the fact that you really need to still protect yourselves in the hospital. So thank you very much for listening tonight. I think this is a huge issue in medical freedom.
Please join our Legal Warriors Club today and be the first to hear about our events, get event discounts, and you can join live Zoom calls where I interview lawyers and other incredible thought leaders in the medical freedom movement. Okay, thank you so much. You are the lifeblood of our legal work in California. You make it happen.